Recording in progress.
This time we're going to look at checkmating with two bishops. So I have prepared a screen. First, we're going to show you a couple of general things about the position. You'll notice that in this position, that how powerful these bishops are. They have sort of a force field effect along the diagonals to their right and to their left. So in this scenario, the white king has a very limited number of squares that it can navigate to. So it's got the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5 squares on that rank, 1, 2, 3, 4 squares on that rank, 2 squares on that rank. And then it can't approach these bishops because they're all defending the squares that it could approach. So now if you adjust this scenario, and move these bishops one diagonal closer, then the limitations is even greater. So this king can now move on these 4 squares and on these 2 squares. So it's cut down to 6 squares. If they're even closer, then the king is just confined to 2 squares. The other thing I was going to show you, that in most scenarios you end up checkmating that I've seen, that I've just, as I was experimenting, I hadn't realized I hadn't really done a 2 bishop checkmate for over 40 years, because I started playing when I was in high school, and then I pretty much put it down for 40 years, and then recently got back maybe about 10 years ago. So a typical scenario is you'll force the king into the corner, and then you'll checkmate with it'll look like that, where the whatever color square the king is in, that bishop will check, and then the other bishop blocks the other escape square, and the king blocks the remaining escape square. So in this scenario, if the king was somewhere else and you did this check, then it's got the escape square. So the king being here is what prevents it from, what makes it a checkmate. So let me now switch over to, let me make sure that you can see the screen. Sometimes on this, when I change my window, it doesn't show up. So I'm going to just to be safe, I'm going to reshare my screen with that new screen. Okay, so I sort of created one scenario, and I'll just explain as I'm going what I'm doing. So the first move, let's see, we have white moving first. So as black, I'm just getting the bishop out into toward the center, as close to the center as I could. I couldn't get to one of the 4 center squares on my first move. Then the king, it has various scenarios, but they'll all work out about the same. So then I put the bishop there, it's a good place to develop the bishop to, get it more active into the game. Then the white king approaches the black bishop, the one on the black squares. Then I just move the bishop back so that the king can't approach. Then the king backs up. I'm bringing the king in because you can't checkmate without the king in the 2 bishop ending. And then I'm bringing the king in. Okay, now here I'm getting those bishops coordinated, and you can see now the king has 2 choices. It can either move kind of diagonally back, or diagonally forward, or I guess 3 choices. It can go to the side, but basically it's going to have to go either to the last 3 ranks or the last 3 files, and it chooses to go to the ranks. I move the king in so it can't get back. That's going to be confined to that area. Then I'm just moving the king forward. Then this one blocks the king further, because up until this point, the king could have gone to our left, but with the bishop there, that prevents the king from going that way. So now it either has to, well, actually, it's probably going to threaten, it's probably going to move up and attack my bishop. Since it can do that, I'll just move that king back to defend it. Then the king has to move. Now, again, now I've got the king confined to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares, a little similar to the scenario I showed at the beginning. So the king has to move. Then I'm bringing the king into the game. And then here, again, I'm just limiting the king's options. Now it has to move to the back rank. Move my king in. So now at this point, again, the white king is confined to 3 squares. Now it's confined to 2 squares. I've got to get my king over to block off that last escape square. So, but white just has those 2 squares. That's pretty much all it can do. Okay, so now here I kind of play a waiting move because I want to set up the bishop so that the king can't move back to where it came. So now that we've got the king going back and forth between the remaining 2 squares that it has. And then it won't work for me to do the check right away, because then it'll come back and then the bishop will not be able to be undefended. It would be undefended if it gave a check. So I'm going to move this bishop. The king has to move to its only square. Now it looks like there's an escape square, that white diagonal, but the power of the bishop is preventing the king from moving on that diagonal. And then the final move is the bishop checks, and now all the escape squares are taken away. So so that's pretty much it. When I was doing these different scenarios, just experimenting, there were quite a number where a setup maybe let me go back to that other board. So there might be a situation where it was more in the center of the board, and let's say it was something like this, and then except we need the bishop on the white square. I don't know, actually we need it like the trying to think of the scenario I had in mind. Let's move this bishop. Let me see here. Maybe it was like that. Or yeah, this was a kind of a scenario I was thinking of. So in this move, the white is forced this way, and again, it looks like there's some escape directions off of that last rank, but then the bishop will prevent it from moving that way. So I just wanted to point out that the power of that bishop to prevent the white king from leaving that rank. So anyway, that is it. And maybe just for fun, I will set up and play. Whoops. Actually, I was having a little trouble setting it up, but let me see if I can do it. Let's go to share screen again. We'll go back to the... I'm going to see if I can reset this position. The trick is to set it up so that the computer will play white, or else, so I can get it to move first, so I can actually play the black pieces. Let me see if I can figure out how to do that. Okay, so if I want to play the computer, first of all, I'm going to load it, but I have to decide, is white going to move? And I think if I say white to move, then it wants me to be white. I think that's what the dilemma is. So I'm going to say black to move. I'm going to load it, and I'm going to click down the 3 dots below, practice versus computer. Oh, see, it wants to be black now. See, that's the problem. Okay, so I won't be able to. So let me go back. Let's clear that a back arrow over here. Set up position, clear board. Let's go here, 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 here. And I'm going to see what happens if I say white to move, then load it, and then practice versus computer. See, it doesn't want to move. It doesn't want me to beat it, I guess. See, when I said black to move, it instantly moved black, but it doesn't want to move when it's white. And I don't see an option to switch sides. Oh, there it is, switch sides. Okay, all right. All right, so then I'll do it this way. Okay, I'm going to prevent it from approaching my bishop, so I'm going to put my bishop there. And then I'm going to start bringing my king into the game. And let's see. Let's just get this bishop in a better position. Okay. I'm going to go here. See if I need to get my king out of the way of my bishop. Let's do this. And let's see. I'll go this way because the king can't escape through there. And then we'll go here. And then we'll go. Just go there, I guess. And looks like maybe it wasn't quite as efficient as I could have been. Keep the king out. Okay, now we'll do this. Now the king is confined. I'll bring the king back to defend it. And now we've got it kind of into that scenario where it's just in those last couple squares now. In fact, if I do this, then it's just confined to the two squares. I need to do some setup. So maybe this wasn't the most graceful way to do it, because I need to get those bishops out of the way. So let's move this here. King here. And then I also need to get this bishop in a different position. So let's see here. Let's just relocate the bishop so that I'll cover that escape square from the other side. There we go. And then I have to be careful not to stalemate. If I put my bishop here, it's stalemate because it doesn't have any moves. So let's play a waiting move. We will do the king here. And then again, remember this how this bishop prevents the king from escaping. It looks like it had a new escape route, but and then here's the checkmate. So so that was an example of how to do that. I hope you enjoyed it. And I was thinking next time I'll show the checkmating with two rooks. It's actually pretty easy. It's easier than this. In fact, with two rook checkmate, if there's nothing else on the board, you don't need the king. So that's kind of fun. And then I'll also maybe talk about how you can actually checkmate with just a single rook if the opponent's king is careless and ends up on the trapped behind a row of pawns. So we'll do both of those things next time. All right, then we'll end it right there. I hope you enjoyed it.